Another comment about class participation. I mentioned in the grading video that it counts as there's two class participation grades, and it counts as a quiz. It does count in one other place, and that comes to borderline cases. So on a 4.0 scale, a 3.5 is an A minus, a 3.49 is a B plus. So this is one of those cases where, well, usually 3.49 I'd round up, but technically that's a B plus. I think there's been one case where I made it a B plus. Usually I make it an A minus. But the one case where I did not round up is this is a student who said nothing in class. Absolutely no participation at all. Just sat there. And frankly, if you're borderline, that's when class participation comes in. And I ask myself, is the class better off for you being in here? If the class is better off, I'll bump it up. It depends upon how. Actually, CPCC, I had a student with a 3.4 on a 4.0 scale, and rarely would I round that up to an A, but the class was so much better. This student participated so well in class that I bumped the person up. I first checked. I wasn't going to give her a bump up that I wasn't going to give everybody across the board, and I looked to see, and I saw no one else was going to be pushed over the edge that I didn't want to be pushed over the edge, and I went ahead and just added 0.8 to everyone's grade. Now I do it slightly differently now than I did, I guess that was 7 years ago, but the essence is still the same. If you're borderline, it comes down to, is the class better for you being in it? And generally I see that through participation attitude. Now, in terms of the class participation grade, I don't think I said this before. If you just sit there and don't cause any trouble and don't add anything, that's a C class participation. And so you can bring it up from there. I've given one A plus for class participation. That goes in my grade book as a 4.3 or 4.0 scale. I've given one class participation because everything out of this person's mouth was spot on target, never showed frustration. It was just, man, I don't know what happened to him, but he was, in terms of class participation, he was so far above and beyond any student I've ever seen. That was just generally in his nature. But there it is. And so, and don't forget, have fun. If you have a question, ask it. I was one of those students who didn't ask questions because I didn't want to feel like I was going to come across like an idiot, or more specifically, I didn't want to ask a question if it had just been said and I'd gotten distracted. You know, I think I missed out on a whole lot by not asking. I'm better at it now, but don't be that student who's not asking questions just because you don't like the way you might have come across. If you don't know how to ask the question, just stumble through it. You know, worst case is I don't know what you're talking about, but then it's even because you didn't know what I was talking about. So just stumble through it. I've had enough students who have articulated well and enough students who haven't. And usually if you say a few key words, I can take a guess. If I'm not 100% sure, I'll say something like, I'm just going to do a scattershot approach and hope that I hit the answer. And then sometimes after I do that, sometimes I actually do answer the question, and sometimes I give you the right vocabulary so you can ask more specifically what it is. So we can work through it. It's a process. In terms of class participation, in terms of class, as long as there's not an assessment, like a quiz or test, in terms of class, it's a group effort. We are all trying to get to the truth. I'm presenting to you what I believe to be the truth, or at least I'm presenting to you something that, well, basically in the stuff we're doing, slightly more sophisticated math, we can put a man on the moon. So I believe that there is some definite truth to what I'm talking about, but is it true? I guess history will tell.